if your phone or your Oura Ring or whatever you're using to track your sleep tells you that you slept great, but you wake up exhausted,
right?
You don't convince yourself you're wrong because the technology told you you're right.
Sure.
Today we're going to go deep on technology. So I guess mostly like the idea of like we call it wearable technology, but then also I guess just using technology to assist or help with your training, your fitness, wellness.
Health, yeah. We've got the wonderful apps on our phone now, or tablets or anything. I mean, technology has come so far and can be so beneficial in all areas of our lives, but we're going to focus on the health and wellness space, the good and the bad, because we want to kind of dissect that technology is so advanced and can tell us so much, but it's not as advanced as our amazing human bodies, and that needs to be celebrated. And I think that we receive a lot of questions and kind of analogies of technology aiding in people's weight loss and goals and stuff, and that's absolutely amazing, but it can also be misleading in a lot of ways. And we also get questions of what apps we use, what, if we wear iWatches or Apple
Watch,
devices,
whatever it's called,
or if we track like our steps on our phone. So we want to dive deep into all of those things.
I guess I'll start out by saying like I tend to not use that stuff.
We both don't.
We tend to not.
We used to though.
Yes.
Or at least we used to use the applications on our phone much more. We never really wore any devices that tracked our sleep or our steps or our heart rates. We never did that.
But no. But so I was gonna say like it would be a little hypocritical to be sitting here like recording our podcast on our phone and be like, no, we're anti-technology.
Never. No, I started by saying technology.
Yeah. So like exactly like you said, like these can all be used as like a great tool. But then when you rely too heavily on it, it can be detrimental.
Yeah, because you're losing that touchability with your body.
Yeah, the intuitiveness.
Yeah, but that's something that comes in time.
Yeah.
Because I was this way. I was addicted. When we release this episode, I'm also going to post this in our stories, my addiction to my FitnessPal and tracking my calories. I have a screenshot of it where I tracked my calories in my FitnessPal for over 1,000 days. That's insane.
It is. It's so unnecessary.
And it was really unhealthy for me because it was a control thing. I felt like I needed to monitor it.
Yeah.
But it was an unhealthy addiction. If I didn't track something in it, I would freak out.
Yeah.
And it was just unhealthy.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly where these things kind of lose their value and start to become unhealthy. And I think it's such a great place to start because if you've never really paid attention to nutrition, if you've never thought about eating healthy food, then like MyFitnessPal, or I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones just like it, is a great tool because then you get to see what this looks like. What does a meal look like? What does 2,000 calories in a day or whatever arbitrary number you're looking at? What does that look like?
Exactly, you're right. Yes, I was able to see it in a format on something that was trackable.
Yeah, perfect. And then you can track it. You can see what happened. Like, okay, if I eat this much, what happens? How do I feel? How do I react? And then you can look back like over the past 3 days and like, okay, well, like on Wednesday I felt better than Monday. Oh, on Sunday I ate this. On Monday I had this for breakfast. Whatever it is, you can see patterns. You can learn about yourself. It aids your intuition in a sense. And then 1,000 days later, it's not aiding your intuition anymore.
No.
it's just another stressor. It's
Yes.
another thing you have to do. It's another addiction.
Yeah.
And you lose touch with like, how does this food make me feel?
Yes.
Which is the whole point.
Mm-hmm. And it was so mind-boggling to me how when I would input the numbers, I had, a goal of, I can't remember, hypothetically speaking, maybe 1,600 calories a day. If I didn't hit it, I would have almost a granola bar or an extra apple at the end of the night.
Because you can. I remember that actually. I never thought about that in a while.
Like I only had 70 calories. Okay, but I
have these calories. Yeah.
Yes, I have these. And then if I went over, I spiraled like nobody's business. And that was just me personally. And I would feel awful about myself the next day and the next, needing to hit that goal constantly.
Right.
But also, let's talk about too, like, of course, like the 1,600 was not a bad calorie intake at that time, but I never fluctuated it either.
Yeah.
Which it was monotonous. My body had adapted over 3 years, however long it was,
things change.
of 1,600 calories. And it just, you intuitively taught me how to feel my body. And no, you have to have more calories some days and then less other days. And that's when we introduced fasting and stuff.
Yeah.
Another one on fasting, but talk about the monotonous of just a plain caloric intake for your whole life.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of things there.
Yeah.
So I'll try to remember them all. Keep it, all my thoughts. You start bringing a notebook to these. But yeah, first off, it's like calories. So first, I always say like calorie it is an arbitrary measurement.
It's very hard to measure.
So it literally, like, a calorie is the amount of energy it takes to raise water 1 degree Celsius. So that doesn't mean anything. It's like it's
very scientific.
It's very scientific. It's very much like this is the energy in this food. But then they take that and like take it as like gospel. I don't know, to use whatever kind of term. But that's like a calorie is not always a calorie. Every piece of chicken is not the same. Every chicken, like, there's so many different things, and not even getting into the nuances of like the quality of fat, how much vitamins are in it, how much, like, I can't imagine that like one really healthy chicken and one like decrepit, like farm raised chicken are going to have the exact same calories, let alone like all the chickens in the world. Like, two chickens, like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't make sense to me that like absolutely every piece of chicken is going to have the exact same amount of energy. Sure. And then you start getting into like different qualities or different foods, especially like different processed food, like where like you look it up and you're like, oh, this is the exact same thing that I bought. That's like kind of easy. But then it's like, what if it's not? And you're like, okay, so this is like the closest thing I can find
to do that, yes.
This exact food that I ate.
I couldn't find the right brand, but I just saw one that was like similar.
Or like maybe you go to a restaurant and you order a meal at a restaurant. You're relying on somebody else who went and did the research to put the, like, how do you know how much butter the chef used? How do you know, like, if maybe they changed the sauce, maybe they got different things. So you're like absolutely obsessed with hitting this specific number every day, where that doesn't really relate to what you're actually eating. So it's an arbitrary number based on an arbitrary number. Like, there's a lot lost in translation. And then on top of that, your caloric needs are changing day to day. Mm-hmm. You're like hormonally, you're in a different place. Mm-hmm. The amount of work you did. Women. Yeah, of course. Yeah, like
we'll get into that in another episode.
Maybe like more obviously women because you have like this like perfect example of there's a cycle to your hormones, what your body needs at different times.
He's talking about menstrual cycle.
The menstrual cycle, yes. So women, it's like much easier to track, I think.
Yes,
like with men, like your hormones fluctuate too. It's just not as like beautiful of a cycle. So what you eat on like January 2nd, or what your body needs on January 2nd versus January 20th, are nowhere near the same. Mm-mm. But you're like, as long as I get my 1,600 in, then it's a good. So there's so many things that can go wrong.
Which MyFitnessPal doesn't know.
Yeah.
This is what we meant at the beginning,
Yes.
where technology is amazing for anything, and connecting us to how we do our jobs, tracking things, but the intuition of our bodies is much more advanced than the technology for health and fitness is our point.
Yeah, and so then you can get to a point, like you were saying, like you would eat for the day, and then it'd be like, oh, I only ate 1,450 calories. I have these calories, but what if you're not hungry?
Right.
But you're in the spot where you're like depriving yourself anyway. So then when the opportunity comes where it's like you could, you're like, absolutely, and it's going to be whatever I want because these are free calories.
Yes.
But what if for that day you were only supposed to eat 1,400 because your body didn't need to burn that many calories? Or what if you thought you ate 1,450 but you actually ate 1,800?
Mm-hmm. Because you mislabeled something, or there was extra oil.
Yeah, something was a little bit different. So we get so hung up on the numbers, and we almost we think that we're so smart when we're not. We're just sort of we're using these arbitrary markers and goals that are like we keep saying, they were great for learning what certain things look like, what certain things feel like. They're great for having some way to chart. Like if you're eating 1,600 calories every day, but your weight is going up, then you probably need to eat less. And it's a really simple way to be like, okay, what if we cut it down to 1,400 calories? And then you can chart that and see. Once you get that down, there's no need for the tracking.
Right.
Because then it becomes exactly what you're saying. It starts to become really, really addictive. And it starts to it gives you leeway that you don't need.
Right.
It gives you different things. And the same thing can be said for if you're wearing a watch or a ring.
I was just going to say, yes.
Where it's you burned this many calories.
Yeah, or your heart rate was at this point for this long, or your sleep was this for this long.
Another one too, a treadmill. You go run on a treadmill. The treadmill tells you right on it. So this is another example. Even if you're not wearing an Oura ring or a Whoop, but I'm gonna run on this treadmill until it says I burned 500 calories.
Right.
But everybody burns calories at a different rate. That thing, when you get on it, is not asking you how was your day at work, how stressed is life, how are you overweight, are you underweight, are you very muscular, have you been running every day for 6 years, or is this your first time? Because all of those are going to adjust the amount of calories that you're burning.
Right.
So if you get on a treadmill, run till it says you burned 500 calories, and then you go, perfect, I have 500 free calories, that's what I'm going to eat today. And then you put that into MyFitnessPal, and it's oh, that was 500 calories. But what if both those numbers are wrong? Then you really only burned, we'll say 400 calories, but you ate 600 calories, and you're assuming that you're even, but you're off by 400 calories. 400 calories a day is, a pound. Or roughly. You'll just keep saying I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing, everything's perfect, and you're going to gain weight, and you're going to gain weight. And I think with most people, they'll adjust, but they're not going to say oh, it's the tool that's wrong. Right, they're just going to adjust further into that tool, and the numbers are probably going to be more and more skewed. Because if they're skewed by a little, they're not going to be off by 100 calories every day. They're going to be if you eat 500 calories, it might be off by 100. If you eat 1,000 calories, it can be off by 200.
Yeah.
They're going to be,
of course,
exponentially wrong. So if you're going to I'm just going to run more and eat less, the numbers are going to be more and more skewed. So you're going to be further and further from your goal. But because you're not paying attention to yourself in your body and what feels right, but you're relying on this technology, you're not getting perfect answers. Everything's just going to be off.
Right, absolutely. And it makes a huge difference when you're eating quality food versus processed food or industrial farmed, horrible meats and stuff. Those have really properties in them that cause inflammation. So it's almost impossible for you to lose the weight. But again, unfortunately, MyFitnessPal, the rings, the watches, they don't know that, but we do. This is our intuitive knowing.
So you can listen to your you can tell, especially when you've been eating clean, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
You can tell when you eat something that's not healthy, when you eat something that's highly processed, like you realize right away what that's doing to your body. But MyFitnessPal doesn't recognize that. They're just like, oh, same number, perfect. These foods are equal, even though like one is like a really nice grass-fed, grass-finished steak, and one is like a box of Oreos. But it's like same amount of calories, you're fine. So like that's sort of like getting away from technology a little bit, but to the idea of like using the wrong markers to judge success or progress. I can't think of the numbers like directly off the top of my head, but I know like with wearable tech, they acknowledge that like these numbers aren't perfect to begin with.
Right, sure.
So whatever.
You kind of have to have that disclaimer.
So like if you're using, I think the best ones on the market that have been measured are at like 90% accuracy.
Okay.
And then like as you get like go down the chain of like the ones that aren't the best on the market, it gets closer to like 60-70% accuracy.
Sure.
Like some of them are pretty low. So it's you're already using, like I keep saying, an arbitrary measure, but now it's like you're kinda guessing that maybe, and you don't know, like if you're 70% accurate with the amount of calories you burned in the day, first off, that's way off. So like with if you burned 1,000 calories and it's telling you burned 700 or 1,300 and you don't know which one, like that.
It is
that's a
big jump.
huge swing. And then, like it's just, people rely so heavily on these. And then it's like, you're going to judge your workout based on what your watch told you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's get into the workout and, monitoring heart rate or steps. I used to, we both did, we both have iPhones. I'm sure that this is on Google and Apple phones too, that you can track your like steps, like that was like a trend.
Yes.
I guess it still is. You want to hit like 10,000 or 12,000, 20,000 steps depending on the person it is. And I used to diligently track that too. Kind of the same thing. It's I go from one addiction to the next. I mean, I'm happy to say it. It's unfortunately what it is. I'm not playing the victim here.
Getting better over time, but still,
And then I eventually realized that once I knew, looking at my phone, how many steps I took within either a half an hour, an hour and a half, then I could gauge my time spent walking in relation to needing my phone at every single time I went for a walk. Because there will be nights where we go on walks where we don't bring our phones because we want to leave the technology at home and enjoy the beautiful nature and have conversations and be able to talk to people outside. But we've just understood that we can track our steps via time versus the actual app. But also, to talk about that.
But so exactly what you're saying is like you can get addicted to the counting steps. Yeah. But using that as a tool to understand like, okay, when I walk this much, I feel good. Yes. I feel better. And then you can look at like, okay, so that was about, 10, 15,000 steps, whatever it is. And then you don't really need to keep charting it because you can just be like, okay, I'm going to walk as much as I need to feel good. And then if that changes, you're in tune with your body where it's like, okay, my body is telling me I should probably walk more so that I feel good. And then some days you're tired and you're like, I'm not going to walk as much. Right.
And I mean, most people do really walk with their phones. Let's be honest. It's 2021. So I don't think people are going to have an issue tracking that. If you need to, I have a goal to hit every day because of weight loss purposes or because of other health issues. This is what I'm doing. Absolutely.
Which is great.
And the technology these days with again, we have an iPhone, so I don't really know how to talk on the other specific devices, but you can put in your menstrual cycle. You can put in different sleep patterns and stuff. So it is, again, beneficial in that way.
But it feeds into the more is better.
Sure.
Because that's certainly for me. Like, I know that, like, I would look at it and be like, oh, good, I walked 10,000 steps today. That's great. And then, for a week, it's like, oh, I'm like walking 10,000 steps every day. But then you have a day where you walk 15,000 steps. And it's like, oh, well, I should do that every day.
Yeah, right.
And then you start getting competitive, which is like good to an extent. And then it gets just useless where you're like, if 10,000 steps a day is good, then I'm going to walk 20,000 steps every day. But then I walked 20,000 yesterday. I'm going to try to walk 21,000, and I'm going to walk 22,000. And you just keep trying to walk more and more and more. And walking is probably as low impact, less damaging a thing. Mm-hmm. This is an example, just an example of how quickly you can get sucked into the like, I'm gonna do this more and more. And where if you look at your phone, it's like, oh, I only walked 8,000. You're like really, really upset with yourself. Mm-hmm. But you walked 12,000 the day before and 14,000. So you're getting plenty of steps in.
And I think that with the steps too, or at least the way that I've perceived it, like in a health, fitness, weight loss way, it's kind of, work out for, 45 minutes, then do 10,000 or 12,000 steps to lose X amount of weight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you're immediately thinking you have to walk this amount of steps. And if you don't, you're not going to lose the weight. Yeah. It's, that's the perception of it.
If I don't hit, I'm a failure.
Yes, exactly. And you're probably still going to lose the weight.
Yeah.
Depending on if you're doing it. But I know what you mean.
But then the same thing, like if you're tracking the calories burned in your workout, and it's like, I'm going to work out today until I burn 600 calories. Mm-hmm. But the point of working out isn't to lose weight. Like if you're in the gym lifting weights, that's not where you lose weight. Losing weight is from healthy lifestyle habits, eating good food, getting sleep, recovering. In the gym, it's like increasing your work capacity and building strength and building muscle and like becoming more capable.
And it took me specifically a really long time because of all of the things we're talking about. Yeah. We're talking about these things because we lived it. We experienced it. I was addicted to all of these unhealthy gadgets and technology. We're not, trying to make anyone feel bad or anything. Like I've been there. Yeah. Dan had to talk me off the ledges a million times, but we realized after years and years and years how we were screwing up and not becoming the best version of ourselves because we were paying too much attention to these arbitrary numbers. So it's coming from personal experience.
Exactly. That's a great point. Like I see it like training clients where like, I promise I'm putting them through a great workout. Yeah. Like it's it is kind of like an interesting perspective to be. I've been, training for a long time. I have a really good understanding of like how the body's supposed to move. So I'm like, when I'm working with people, even if their goal is to lose weight, I want them to move better. Yes. Like first and foremost, I want to fix the weak points. I want to help them like, fix bad ankles and bad hips so that they don't have knee pain and hip pain and back pain. And then I want them to, build strength and endurance and work capacity. And you can't do that all at like a really, really high intense level.
Sure.
So if you're coming into the gym to work out for an hour, the most beneficial thing you can be doing is improving movement quality and the way that you move like your body through space. Because that's going to carry over to being more healthy. That's going to put less wear and tear on your joints. Mm-hmm. That's going to help just make life easier because then you're able to move things more efficiently, you're stronger. But maybe that only burns, 350 calories. Right. Only burns 400 calories, whereas like the goal was 600. We need to be doing like stupid things in between. Like we need to do a set and then jump on the bike and like pedal really hard. But like that's going to take away from your next set. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm all for like doing more work, getting in great shape. But first you need like a really good foundation. And I think if you get too hung up on hitting arbitrary goals and numbers, you're leaving so much on the table because then over time you might lose weight, but you're not moving better. You're in more pain, like your body's beat up. You're putting all this wear and tear on yourself. You don't have the longevity to keep training and keep being consistent for a long time. Mm-hmm. But it's like I hit my calorie goal. I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but I think that it's a problem because the fitness industry is very much geared toward like, you're not good enough, you need to become better.
Sure.
You need to lose weight, you need to look perfect. And the way to lose weight is to like exercise more, eat less, burn more calories.
Well, because there's this stigma around fitness being fit. Oh, that person looks fit. I gotta do what they do.
Yes.
Too. So yes, of course, that it's just all marketing and how can we capitalize on telling this person or these people to eat X amount of calories and macros and burning, the X amount of calories during their workout. Again, we're all different. We're all unique. Same thing with like the analogy of the chickens that you used for feeding.
Exactly.
One chicken who's amazingly happy and roaming on the green pastures and living a happy, amazing life is going to be very different, but like made up inside from the chicken who's stuck in a pen, really unhappy, stressed out, confined, and literally being force-fed corn and soy. Those are two different completely chickens. Yeah. So you and I are made up very differently and burn calories very differently. You have much more muscle on me. You have much more testosterone. You're able to eat a lot more versus me. Again, I have many more different hormones. I have a menstrual cycle. I'm a woman. I definitely have less muscle. All of these factors play into how humans are made up and designed as opposed to technology, which is trying to fit us into a box, but we should celebrate that we're circles and we can't all fit into the same box.
Yeah, celebrate uniqueness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, or you're going to make another point? Yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, so exactly that. And then it's like, if we're just reliant so much on hitting this arbitrary goal, you're missing out on all your uniqueness and you're missing out on like the things that you should be prioritizing with your training, with your eating. Things like nutrient density, things like good quality movement and training, things like, training with intention, living with intention.
Absolutely. And the technology that's there, I mean, we should also touch upon how it is beneficial because tracking sleep is huge. Sleep cycles, like when you're in that REM cycle, in that deep sleep, how many hours you're getting. Same thing with like heart rate, that can be really beneficial to track.
Yes. And it's like all those things.
And again, that's the power of it, and that's what technology is amazing. So it's a double-edged sword.
That's exactly what I know. Like I rant from time to time, but I don't want it to sound like I'm anti-technology.
Of course not.
I'm anti
relying
outsourcing your intuition to technology, because then you're lost. Like then you show up to the gym and you forgot your smartwatch, and it's like, what do I do? Why even bother working out if it's not counting my calories for me, it's not counting my reps for me? Same, I feel like almost like with you with my fitness pal, to bring it back around to that, where it's like, you put your meals in for 1,000 something days. What if you didn't? It would have destroyed you. Yeah, where it's like absolutely nothing would have changed in your life.
No.
Except you wouldn't have like this thing to look at.
Yeah.
So there's I just want people to put the technology in the right place, where use these as tools. Like you're saying, like monitoring your sleep is great. It's really, really important to know if you are getting good sleep or not. But also, if your phone or your Oura Ring or whatever you're using to track your sleep tells you that you slept great, but you wake up exhausted.
Right.
You don't convince yourself you're wrong because the technology told you you're right.
Sure.
It's like don't outsource that part of your intuition.
Yes. It's almost like you kind of, I think, again, personally, just because we're also talking from experience, I used all these gadgets and apps and tools probably for longer than I needed. So that's really the point we're trying to get across. Like, I didn't really need to track my calories for over 1,000 days. Like, that is many years. And probably after the first 6 months, I could grasp when I made a plate of food what the calories were coming from what source, protein, carbs, vegetables, things like that. When I went out to dinner, it was a little bit harder, but your intuition, it picks up because you're having something to look at. Same thing with walking. That's what I meant. Like I used to want to look at my phone. Oh my gosh, how many steps did I do? How many steps did I do? Then I was able to realize, okay, this amount of steps correlated with the amount of time that I walked. I can be a little bit more lenient. I have this amount of time that I can walk in a day, which roughly going to be, 12,000 steps. It's all that your intuition's going to get better and better when you use the technology to your advantage in doses to just have that platform in place for a certain amount of time. Yeah. You're going to be so amazed with how intelligent your body is. And that's what you taught me so much. You have to listen to your body, but it's hard to do that when you rely on technology so much. I was tunnel vision. I wasn't listening to it. And it was really hard to pick up on the intuitions at first. But as I laid my guard down, as I deleted that fitness pal, that was a day and a half for me to do that. But it was really rewarding because then I wasn't relying on something else to tell me how I felt, how to do things. It was all coming internally. And then it sparked my fuel to see, okay, what else can I change or what else can I tuck away and use it as a, in my back pocket if I need it, but what can I rely on my own self for to tell me what I need? That's really empowering. It's like, wow, I don't need to track my calories. I don't need to track my steps anymore. I don't need to track my heart rate. Like I know the amount of rest time that I need in between periods now. And that's so rewarding. That's where we want, our goal is. We want everybody to tap into that when we always say, how do you feel? What are your thoughts? How did you sleep? This is what we mean by it because we can't always rely on the technology because it doesn't have all the information, but the information is within us. We just have to give it a little tap to say, okay, come out and tell me how I'm feeling.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it. Like that's for sure. Like that works with your intuition. If you're never relying on sort of like what your gut instinct is telling you, what that nagging voice in the back of your head saying like stop, and you keep like pushing it down and be like, no, my phone said I need to do more.
That's a great.
You lose it. But when you can stop, like put the technology down for a little bit, get in touch with yourself, that voice gets louder. And it gets more clear, and it's a lot easier to understand. I think, like the food thing, I think is a really, really good analogy, and using like MyFitnessPal, because not only like were you able to learn like what calories look like, what 20 grams of protein looks like, but once you started getting away from the counting and the putting it in, then it started becoming like, okay, how does this much steak make me feel?
Yes.
And that's so much more valuable than the amount of energy in that steak. Like it's not like when you go to the gas station and you get like, okay, my car needs 5 gallons of gas because I need to get this far. There's so many other things happening. So you're able to sort of open up the door to all those other elements of the food, all the information that you're getting from that meal, when you're not hung up on fitting it into this specific measurement.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that like that same thing, like you carry that over to exercise. It's like, what did that movement make me feel? Do I like doing that with weights
or without?
Yeah. Should this be faster? Should it be slower? Do I need more rest time or less? Because maybe the training program you're on says 30 seconds rest, but the weight you used was a little too heavy and you need to stop and take 45 seconds.
Yeah, or a minute.
That's going to be a better set if you give it that extra 15 seconds. And that's intuition. You're not just going because your phone is beeping. Yeah. So I think learning that, like you don't learn those lessons if you're too heavily relying on the technology, on, like I said, like outsourcing your intuition.
Exactly. And I think that any other like points that you want to bring up?
The only other thing that we didn't really touch on, you mentioned earlier about like going for walks without our phone.
I know where you're going with this.
and being able to just like enjoy the night and look around, where it's like having like there's also, it's not even the just like looking at your phone, like having your phone in your pocket is also bad for you. Like the EMF, like all the energy, all the negative, like electromagnetic frequencies are really, really bad for us. And if we never get away from that, if you always have your phone, if you always have your like Apple Watch on, even when you're sleeping, you're never going to get good quality sleep. Like I know you can put them on airplane mode, and I think it still works. I've never used the watch, so I'm not really sure exactly how that works. But no, like every night when you go to sleep, like we're turning off the Wi-Fi, putting our phones on airplane mode.
Yes. Because those, like you're saying, the EMF waves do interrupt your sleep. It's just
and it's also like it's interrupting like just we're electrical beings.
Yeah, it's a frequency.
And bringing in a different frequency that close to our body can be detrimental. So I think having that time, like if you're never without it, it can't be good for you. So
so that's why we do talk a lot about like self-care. Like put your phone down, even if it's only for an hour or 2 hours, and you want to go and relax and be somewhere else, a spa, you're just your couch or your ottoman or something, or nature. You can also be in nature and put your phone just like 10 yards away from you and just lay on the grass or just stand. That's what we mean. Like it's grounding is so important to recharge that natural energy, because we're beings and we need to connect to the earth. So putting your phone down for just a little bit of time is so beneficial to recharge.
Or turn it off,
the
put it on
cells in
airplane
your body.
mode. Try to be away from Wi-Fi for a little bit. But that's I
don't know.
That's a whole other thing. And we can talk more about grounding, and we can talk more about maps.
So many episodes to come.
We have so much. Everything. But I think that's.
I think that overall, we love technology. It helps us sustain our business, to keep in touch with our families across the country, the world. I mean,
we literally have
TV, everything.
We have a training app. Like,
yes! Oh my gosh! We haven't even mentioned that.
So I'm not.
I can't. It doesn't track.
No, but it does have workouts. So like, you can bring.
And it does have a bell.
It does. Like bring your phone to the gym with you. Download the Momentum Strength and Wellness app, and then follow the programs that are on there. They're great.
Yes.
But just know when to step away.
Yeah, absolutely. So technology can be so beneficial in so many areas of our lives, and it's come so far to keep us connected and who we are. Again, we're in 2021. I mean, unfortunately, we're not in 1950 anymore, right? So you do need it. We're advancing and technology is advancing. However, be very careful the way that you outsource that technology to tell you how you feel when you should intuitively know how you feel. But it does take practice. It takes time. So use them as guidelines and really good tools at first. And then when you feel comfortable to let them go.
Learn from it and let it go.
Exactly.